There is a particular kind of defeat in a stiff towel. You know the one I mean. You reach into the dryer and the towel that comes out in your hand does not feel right. It has a roughness to it, a drag. You rub your face in it after a bath and it scrubs at your skin instead of giving way to it the way good cotton ought to. And underneath whatever fragrance you poured in with the wash, there is a faint clothes smell you can never quite name, chemical and flat and stubborn. I dried myself in towels like that for the first few years I was keeping my own house. I did exactly what you are supposed to do. I bought the fabric softener. I poured it into the little tray on the machine. I used the dryer sheets from the blue box. I paid what they cost at the store, which was never a small amount, and seemed to go up a little every year, and I never once stopped to wonder whether what I was paying for was actually doing the job I thought it was. My towels were still rough. My cotton shirts still felt flat and heavy off the line. The smell was there, but the softness I was paying for was never quite there the way I wanted it to be. So I bought the next bottle, and I tried the other brand, and I kept at it, and nothing really changed. My mother came to stay with us for a week in the third autumn of my marriage. She helped me with the wash one afternoon the way women do when they are together in a house, and she pulled one of my towels out of the basket and held it for a moment. She did not say anything, she just folded it carefully and set it with the others. But that evening, sitting at my kitchen table with a cup of tea between us, she asked me what I was using on my laundry. I told her. I showed her the bottle. She looked at the label a moment, and then she set it back down and looked at me, not unkindly. My mother was never an unkind woman. But she said, "Anna, I want to tell you something your grandmother told me, and that her mother told her, because I think it will save you a good deal of money and a good deal of frustration, both." What she told me that afternoon I have used every week since. If this is the kind of plain, useful help you came looking for, go ahead and subscribe. And tell me down in the comments what state you are watching from. The first thing she said was this. She said, "Fabric softener does not soften your cloth." And I remember the feeling I had when she said it, that small, stubborn push in the chest when you hear something that sounds like it cannot possibly be right. Because the word is right there on the bottle, softener, in big letters. How could it not soften? But hear me out, because she was right, and once you understand it, you will see exactly why your laundry has been behaving the way it has. What fabric softener does is coat your cloth. Every single fiber in that towel, in that cotton shirt, in those bed sheets you pull off warm from the dryer, gets wrapped in a thin layer of chemical compounds. Slippery, waxy stuff that carries a positive electrical charge, and because cotton fiber carries a negative charge, those chemicals cling to it and stay there. What your hand feels when you reach into the dryer and the towel feels smooth is that coating, the chemical film sitting on top of the cloth. Not soft cloth, a soft-feeling film over cloth that underneath it has not changed at all. Now I will tell you why that matters so much, and why it matters most for your towels. A cotton towel has one job. It has had that one job for as long as anyone has been making towels. It pulls water off your skin. Cotton does that because of the structure of the fiber itself. Each one is hollow and absorbent, built to draw moisture toward it and wick it away from whatever it is touching. That is the whole nature of the thing. But when you coat every one of those fibers in a slippery, waxy layer, you take away the absorption. You have sealed the surface that was supposed to drink moisture in. So you rub your face in a towel that feels soft and smooth, and you are still damp when you hang it back on the hook. And you stand there not quite understanding why. Because soft is right there in the name, and the towel does feel soft. So something must be working, and yet here you are, still damp after your bath. The something that is working is not the something that is helping you, and there is something else. Over time, that coating builds. Load after load, a little more deposits on the fibers. After months of regular use, your towels are not just slightly less absorbent. They are noticeably less absorbent. They feel smooth, and they smell like whatever the bottle smelled like, and they do not dry you properly at all. And your answer is to buy more fabric softener and use a little more of it, because something must be off with the ratio. I am not saying this to make you feel foolish. I am saying it because nobody told me either, and because understanding it is the only way to fix it for good. There is real money in a problem that never quite gets solved. I will say that plainly, because I think you deserve to understand the shape of things. A product that solves your problem completely is one you buy once. A product that does enough that you believe it is working, while slowly making the underlying problem worse, is one you buy every month for the rest of your life. Walk into any grocery store in the spring, and the fabric softener shelf is as long as your outstretched arms. Scent boosters and dryer sheets and softener pods, and the special kind for sensitive skin, and the improved formula, and the one that also fights static. A different bottle for every variation of the same problem. And every one of them needs replacing the moment it runs out, which is always soon, and none of them ever quite closes the thing for good. My mother's mother never bought a single bottle of any of it. My mother never did either. Their laundry was soft, and their towels dried you properly, and their cotton lasted, and they spent almost nothing to get there. If this is doing you some good so far, subscribe and turn on notifications so the next one finds you when it is ready. The answer is wool. A ball of it, about the size of a closed fist, wound tight and dense, and dropped into the dryer with your laundry. I want to explain why it works before I walk you through the making of it, because understanding the why is what keeps you trusting the method when it seems almost too simple to believe. When cloth comes out of the dryer stiff or rough, there are two main reasons. The first is residue left in the fibers from the wash, detergent and mineral deposits from hard water that dry down into the fabric and make it feel heavy and coarse. The second is that the cloth dried in a clump, pressed together in the drum without air moving through it, the fibers lying flat against each other with nothing to lift or separate them. Fabric softener tries to address both of these by laying something slippery over the surface of everything. That is the shortcut. You already know where the shortcut leads. Wool dryer balls address both causes properly. They move through the laundry as the drum turns. They work between the layers of cloth, separating things that would otherwise press together and come out stiff. They push air through the load so the heat reaches everything evenly, and nothing stays damp in the middle while the outside is overdone. And as they move and bounce and tumble, they work on the cloth mechanically, lifting the fibers, the same way motion itself loosens things. The cloth comes out softer because it has been moved properly through the drying, not because anything has been poured over it. There is nothing left behind on the fabric, no coating, no film, no residue, just cloth that has dried the way cloth dries when it is given air and movement. Now for the making of them. You want 100% wool yarn, not a blend, not something that says mostly wool on the label. Not acrylic that has been made to look like wool. Pure wool. From sheep, nothing added. You will find it at a craft store, at a farm market, sometimes at a larger fabric shop. A single skein of good wool yarn runs somewhere between $1.50 and $3, depending on where you live and what is available. From that one skein, you can make 3 or 4 dryer balls that will last you 4 or 5 years with regular weekly use. Set that against a jug of fabric softener at nearly $10 a month, and the arithmetic speaks for itself clearly enough. To make each ball, you start with the tail end of the yarn. Wind it around 2 fingers about a dozen times until you have a small flat bundle. Slip the bundle off your fingers. Now begin winding the yarn around the center of that bundle, crossing back and forth, turning the ball as you go in your palm the way you would turn an apple while you peeled it. You want steady, light tension as you wind. Not so tight it cuts into itself, and not so loose the layers will shift. Keep winding and turning until the ball has built up to the size of a firm closed fist. A good solid fist, not an easy one. When you reach that size, tuck the yarn tail under 3 or 4 of the last loops you wound to hold it in place. That is the ball. But it is not finished yet. And this next step is the one that matters. You need to felt the balls. Felting is what wool does when it is exposed to heat and agitation together. The fibers lock into each other, grab hold and hold on, and the whole thing becomes a dense, firm mass that will not come apart in the dryer no matter how many times it tumbles. Without felting, the ball will loosen and pill and shed. With it, you have something that will go in with your laundry for years and never lose its shape. Put your finished balls into an old cotton pillowcase and tie the end shut tight so nothing can escape. Wash the whole pillowcase on the hottest setting your machine has. Let it run through a full cycle, then put the pillowcase, balls still inside it, into a hot dryer and run it until everything is completely dry. When you open it up, your balls will be smaller and much firmer than when they went in. The fibers will have woven themselves together. Press one between your palms. It should feel solid with almost no give. That is what you want. Felted tight and dense like that, a wool dryer ball holds through years of use without any attention from you. Aim for at least 3 in the dryer with each load. If you can make 6, use 6. More balls means more air moving through the drum, faster and more even drying, and softer cloth coming out at the end. I keep 6 in an old crock on top of my dryer. They go in with every single load our family runs. They have been doing that for 4 years now, and they look exactly as they ought to. Now people always ask about static. It comes up every single time. And it is a fair question because static is real, and it is irritating, and it was the other thing the dryer sheets promised to handle. Static in the dryer comes mainly from overdrying. When the drum keeps turning after the cloth has gone bone dry, everything rubbing together with no moisture left at all, that is when the electrical charge builds. The wool balls reduce this because they improve air circulation and the load dries more evenly, which means you can pull things out sooner without anything still being damp in the middle. But if you want to handle static directly, the answer is even simpler than the wool. A piece of ordinary aluminum foil from your kitchen drawer, crumpled into a loose ball about the size of your fist, tossed into the dryer alongside the wool balls. The foil disperses the electrical charge that builds on your laundry as it tumbles. You will not see it working, and you will not feel it working, but when you pull the load out, the static will not be there, and that same crumpled piece of foil goes back in with the next load, and the load after that. One piece will run you through months of laundry without needing a single replacement. There is one more thing my mother always used alongside her wool balls, and I would not be doing right by you if I left it out. Half a cup of plain white vinegar in the fabric softener tray of your washing machine before each wash. The machine releases it into the rinse water on its own from there, right at the right moment in the cycle. Plain white vinegar, the kind that costs $1 or $1.50 at any grocery store and keeps in the pantry for months. What the vinegar does in the rinse is strip out the residue that detergent leaves behind in your cloth after the wash cycle. That residue is one of the main reasons laundry comes out stiff, and if you have been using commercial softener for a while, the coating from that has been building up in your fibers too. The vinegar pulls all of it out and sends it down the drain. It also softens the effects of hard water minerals in the rinse, and if your water is hard, you will notice a real difference in your towels almost immediately. Those minerals deposit into fabric as it dries, and they are a significant cause of that coarse, rough feeling that makes a towel unpleasant to use. Vinegar takes them out before they have a chance to settle in. Your laundry will not smell of vinegar when it comes out of the dryer. The smell rinses away completely in the wash. What you will notice instead is nothing. Clean cloth and nothing else. And after years of artificial fragrance sitting on everything in your home, that nothing is its own kind of clean that is hard to describe until you have had it for a while. One more thing about stiffness that I want to name before I let you go, because it has nothing to do with what you add to the wash or the dryer, and it trips people up even when they do everything else right. Overdrying. When the dryer keeps running past the point where your laundry is done, heat and tumbling and friction working on cloth that is already completely dry, it damages the fibers. Not ruins them, but roughens them, stiffens them. The longer it runs past done, the worse it gets. You want to pull your laundry out while it is still warm and just dry. Not hot and crackling, warm, with a little give left to it. Fold it right away while the warmth is still in it, and the wrinkles will settle out of most things on their own, which saves you ironing time on top of everything else. And on a good day, if you have any line or any rack for it, hanging your laundry to dry in the open air does something a dryer cannot fully match. Cloth that dries slowly in moving air, without being tumbled against itself, lasts longer. There is less wear on the fibers. The sun whitens white cloth naturally in a way that nothing in any bottle quite replicates, and clothes that come off a line in a good breeze smell of clean air and nothing else, which is the best thing laundry can smell like. My mother dried that way as much as she was able, and her household linens lasted 30 years in good use. I believe the drying had as much to do with that as any other care she gave them. If you do not have a yard or a clothesline, a wooden drying rack near an open window serves well enough. Even running 1 or 2 loads a week on a rack instead of the dryer will show up in how your cloth feels and how long it lasts. It is worth doing when you can manage it. My grandmother used to say that wisdom is not hidden. She said that good plain knowledge does not disappear because someone came along and buried it or burned it. It steps back because nobody is saying it out loud anymore. And a thing that stops being said out loud might as well be lost entirely, because it sits there doing nobody any good if it is never spoken. The knowledge I am giving you today is not new. Wool in the dryer, vinegar in the rinse, a piece of foil for static, pulling the load while it is warm, hanging when the weather permits. None of it was invented last year. None of it came from a laboratory. All of it came from women who kept households before anyone thought to build a store shelf of products for every household problem those women had already solved. That knowledge stepped back when it stopped being profitable for anyone to keep passing it along. The store shelf does not stock a display for vinegar and wool yarn and a piece of foil because nobody up the line makes a living from vinegar and wool yarn and a piece of foil. They make their living from the softener and the dryer sheets and the static spray and the fragrance booster and the improved formula that needs buying again next month when it runs out. I am not standing here angry about that. I understand how it works. But I also understand that when you came to sit with me for these few minutes, you came looking for something useful, and the most useful thing I can give you is the answer that asks the least from you in return. $2 of wool yarn, at most. A bottle of vinegar for $1.50. A scrap of foil from your kitchen drawer. Those things together replace 2 ongoing purchases entirely. Do the job better, leave nothing behind on your cloth, and last for years without you thinking about them again. The first time you fold a basket of towels off the dryer and they come out soft the way they were always supposed to be, soft the way your grandmother's towels were soft without her ever buying a thing to make them that way, you will know what I mean by this. There is a particular satisfaction in solving something properly, in knowing that what is in your hands is right because you understood a thing and acted on it, not because you paid someone to pour a chemical coating over everything you own. That satisfaction is not a small thing. It is part of what it means to run a steady house. Let me put it to you plain before I let you go. Find yourself a skein of 100% wool yarn. Wind it into 3 to 6 tight balls the size of a firm closed fist. Felt them by washing on hot and drying on high inside a tied-off pillowcase. From that moment, they are ready to use, and they will keep being ready for years without any attention from you. Toss them all into the dryer with every load. Add a crumpled ball of foil for static. Put half a cup of plain white vinegar into your fabric softener tray before you start the wash. Pull the laundry out while it is still warm and fold it right away. Hang when you can. That is the whole of it. less than $5 to start, and nothing to replace for years. If you have questions about finding the right yarn, or about the felting, or about any of this, put them down in the comments. I read every one and I will answer you. And if you try this and your towels come out the way a good towel ought to come out, I would be so glad to hear that too. Thank you for sitting with me through this. Subscribe if you want more old household wisdom, and the next video is right there on your screen when you are ready for it.